जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Creative Asia. Now we are celebrating the 79th Independence Day. Yeah, happy independence to all the Indians who love India and who respect India. Every year on August 15, we celebrate with pride, flags fly, speeches echo, and we remember the heroes who gave us freedom. But have you ever really wondered why did the British leave exactly in 1947? Okay, I give a small scenario to make it easy. Find a teenager in India and ask this: who gave India independence? They probably say Mahatma Gandhi. Also, ask them how did India get independence? They probably say non-violence. These answers are not wrong, but they are not 100% right either. India's independence was the result of many things, hundreds of characters, multiple ideologies, and of course some rub of the grain. To say nonviolence gave us freedom is an oversimplification of many in our history. Almost 8 decades have passed since those events, but even today things are hazy. Many questions remain unanswered. Some questions are too uncomfortable to raise. It doesn't mean we are shy away from raising them. Questioning our past is a sign of a maturity and evolving democracy. So that's what we are doing. Looking at four questions from India's independent movement, we know what the history book says. Now let us see what actually happened. Time for a flashback. But before we see the flashback, if you don't subscribe to my channel, just subscribe. Okay, let us see the flashback. Question number 1 is probably the most divisive. What made Britain leave India? Gandhiji is not violence, or Subhash Chandra Bose army to launch to leave India movement in 1942. The next year, Bose bring back the Indian National Army. The difference was clear. Gandhi asked Britain to leave India. Bose said, "I will make them leave." Who succeeded in the end? Well, in 1944, Gandhi offered Britain a chance. He said, "We will stop the civil disobedience, but on one condition: give us immediate independence." Lord Weaver was the viceroy then. He completely rejected the offer. He said it was not even a starting point for a discussion. Both though had more success, his Indian National Army lost the Second World War. He himself died in 1945. But what happened next galvanized India. From the late 1945, soldiers of the International Army were put on trial. They had fought for Imperial Japan. Now Britain wanted revenge. It was the worst possible plan. All of India united in support of the soldier servicemen elsewhere took inspiration from them. During the trials, a massive naval mutiny broke out in Mumbai. Almost 20,000 soldiers and 78 ships were involved. Similar revolt happened in Chennai and Pune. Riots broke out in Karachi and Kolkata. The British were shaken. They could handle civil disobedience with the army, but if the army itself revolted, they were helpless. Dr. B. R. Ambedkar realized this. This is what he said in 1955. I think the British had come to the conclusion that if they were to rule India, the only basis on which they would rule was the maintenance of the British Army. Just one problem though, the British Army was devastated by 1946. They lost 384,000 soldiers in the Second World War. There were 21 million pounds to debt. So using British troops to hold on to India, I was out of the question. They neither had the manpower nor the money. So what did they do? They packed up and left. India was not the only country to benefit this way. Britain left Jordan in 1946, Myanmar in 1948, Ceylon on Sri Lanka in 1948, Palestine in 1948. So the global trend was decolonization. The only question is what accelerated Clement Attlee was the British Prime Minister during this time. Years later, he talked about why he agreed to independence. He gave us many reasons, but the main one was this: the erosion of loyalty among the armed forces. The British could not trust them anymore. So the best option was to leave now. Full disclosure, Attlee's comments were not made in public. He said what he did during a private shot with Justice P.P. Chakraborty. He was the acting governor of West Bengal. This comments made one thing clear. Britain did not leave India because they had a change of heart or because non-violence appeared to the conscious. They left because it was not viable anymore. They had no means to control India's 300 million rescue population. Now let us move to the question number 2. Why did Gandhi oppose Bose politics? It is clear that he did. Gandhi tried to stop Bose's election as Congress president in 1939. When Bose won, Gandhiji called it a personal defeat once again. It was ideology. Bose wanted self-independence. He feared that Gandhi would settle for something less, maybe dominion status. These differences lead to a rivalry. Gandhi does not come out well. In this episode, historians have called him quote-unquote petty and given to machinations. Both radical tactics got him arrested, but in 1941, he fled British India. He began running for independence abroad. The idea was pretty simple. Your enemy's enemy is your friend. Using that logic, he reached out to Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. The British will leave it. They called Bose a collaborator. The next year in 1942, the Quiet India movement was declared. Both supported it. He called it India's epic struggle, but the sentiment was never mutual. Both set up on a provisional government of Free India in 1943. Short of like a government in exile, it was recognized by around 9 countries, all of them aligned with Japan and Germany. Gandhi and Congress never embraced Bose's government or army, at least not during the war. Why was that? The Congress was ideologically on Britain's side. They never agreed to support the war, but they wanted to see Hitler defeated. Also, there was a power struggle within the movement. Gandhi liked Nehru more. Nehru was the steady-eyed pupil with utter devotion. Bose, on the other hand, was more rebellious. He challenged Gandhi's leadership of the party. Which politicians likes that? The Congress attitude towards Bose and the INA would change, but much later after the war, in fact, Nehru was the one of the lawyers doing the INA trials. Many historians say this was a political decision. The trials had captured public imaginations, so suddenly the Congress wanted a piece of it. Question number 3. How did World War II shape India's freedom struggle? I told you how devastated Britain was, but that's not all. Around 2.5 million Indians fought in the war in Europe, in Africa, and in Asia. Once the war ended, they came home by 1947. Only 800,000 men were part of the army, and the rest had been killed or demobilized. Imagine that, from 2.5 million to 800,000. We are talking about highly trained fighters here. Many of them joined self-defense units and volunteer groups. They trained the fellow Indians, but service abroad also meant one thing. The soldiers were exposed to new ideas, things like liberty, freedom, democracy. They had fought in the traces for someone else's rights, so once back home, they begin to think, what about our rights? What about our rights? This led to a bigger push towards independence. Even Bose's army was made up of these soldiers. Thousands of them had served in Southeast Asia. Japan defeated and jailed them. These prisoners of war became the core of the Indian National Army. And now we have come to the final question. How did Jawaharlal Nehru become the India's first Prime Minister? Was his election unanimous? Well, far from it. In 1946, the Congress held an internal election. It was time to choose the next president. He or she would also be India's interim Prime Minister. So the stakes were high. Gandhi's pick was clear from the beginning. He wanted Nehru to take charge. And why was that? Gandhi believed that Nehru was the better suited to negotiate with the British. He was a Cambridge graduate, he read off in English, plus he was better known abroad, but Nehru needed support from the party state committees. Only then could he be elected. He had challenges too, the likes of Sardar Patel and the Archani Kripani. Do you know what the results were? 12 out of the 15 state committees nominated Patel, 3 of them abstained. So none of them nominated Jawaharlal Nehru. Gandhi broke this news to his protege. Apparently, there was stunned silence from the other side. Nehru was never going to be number 2. So Gandhi asked Sardar Patel to withdraw from the race. For whatever reasons, he did. Patel was considered a good administrator, also a people's leader. He was very close to the grace roots, yet it was Nehru who became the first prime minister. The rest, as the says history, or at least one version of it. Nehru would go on to become India's longest serving prime minister. Patel died in 1915. The idea behind this video is a bit complicated one, but the essence of the history is not always about right or wrong. Historical figures are not always heroes and villains. There are humans like us, imperfect people who did what they thought was right. That wasn't Gandhi, not see eye to eye. Well, yes, but it was both who first called Gandhi the father of the India. It was Gandhi called both the patriot of patriots. They disagree on ideology, but one thing united them, the dream of an independent India. We often forget that our freedom fighters were also politicians. They were ambitious, they looked out for their career, and sometimes they sabotaged each other. It is important that we accept and embrace every part of our freedom struggle, the violent, the unviolent, the indifferent. We need to accept that both things are true. That is the hallmark of a mature democracy. So I think this video gives you a lot of history about our country. If you like this video, just subscribe, like, share. Bye everyone.